afterwards. We know ECP is a new thing. ACI has done some fantastic work there with a couple of partners. We'll be at the stand this afternoon, so you're welcome to come and join us. This is the context.
So ACI has been around for more than 100 years. We make good quality, solid products, and we thrive on being responsible citizens for the world. We have a passion, customer centricity. The mere fact that we've been around for 100 years implies that we are sustainable.
One of the things that I think really stands out for me in ACI is the people. They, at the end of the day, are the people that contribute to the bottom line and deliver the results for us. If you think about the 23 countries that we operate in, each of these countries had their own payroll system and or HR system as well. I think at the time we counted about 40 systems, and that made it very difficult to try and roll out central or global policies, to standardize processes.
The challenge was to bring ACI together to become one ACI. And SAP allowed us to be able to begin that journey. And so we began a journey to centralize, standardize, and simplify the entire human capital management offering at ACI. And ACI, for the first time ever in its history, will have a single repository of its human capital management dynamics. And that will allow us to manage our people better in the future.
We now have an integrated platform for human capital that doesn't just run our employee central services and our payroll, but also our learning management, our performance management. We've implemented SAP Analytics Cloud, which really gives the power back to the people and the line managers in terms of looking at employee information. So we are running on SAP SuccessFactors, having implemented Employee Central Payroll. So this year we went live with our cloud payroll, and that has really leveraged the Employee Central platform to a great extent.
Our ability to integrate our human capital management data into our ERP data and potentially other data is now right there at our fingertips. Phase next is essentially to take that entire new world directly into the cloud and run our entire IT solution from cloud-based offerings that are not managed and run by the ACI traditionally technical environment. The benefit of a solution such as SAP puts the power in the hands of the end user.
I believe this implementation has really added a lot of value, and even for our executive and our senior managers, they can look at data for all their different businesses. So you get a global view where previously you had to contact 40 countries, speak to 40 people and ask for information. One of the other great benefits in implementing SAP SuccessFactors was that it enabled us to implement a new operating model for human capital, specifically a global shared service center, where we have a team looking after the payrolls and human capital operations for all our countries. And we've implemented all our systems in the different ACI languages, and in our shared services, we've appointed people that can speak French and German and Portuguese.
So going back to our IT strategy of tending towards one, SAP has a wide spectrum of solutions that we are looking for, and we have decided to consolidate those solutions on a more holistic SAP offering.
I think one of the things that's really important when you do an implementation of this magnitude is to select the right software solution, which I believe we really did with SAP SuccessFactors, but then also to select the right partner, and that can really go on this journey with you. We had 3 great implementation partners. We had BCX, we had EpiUse, and we had Sidor.
As we grow with the SAP solution, we will enable our organization to use it more efficiently, to derive the relevant information from the system timelessly, and not rely on historical legacy ways of working anymore.
Every now and then in your SAP career, you meet a CIO that says, "I'm not scared." And I'm honored to have Tony talk to us this afternoon. He didn't only say to us, implement one of the most complicated payrolls in the world in Brazil. He also said to us, I'll count my words, Shiraz, do one of the first ECP implementations in South Africa. He's a fantastic human being and an amazing golfer. So, Mr. Tony Serra, the floor is yours.
So thanks, Henley, and good morning, everybody. So unlike Henley, I do not want to date any of you, so don't call me. Morning all, it's a privilege to be here and convey our journey to you this morning, so welcome. I presented to Sapila 25 or so years ago, and it's taken you buggers 25 years to invite me back. So, and I think I went through this presentation, I believe I had it in my archive stack sometime, and I had a look at the presentation, and I've titled this, Much Has Changed and Much Has Stayed the Same. I could have cut and pasted half of this presentation from 25 years ago and presented it again to you today. The things that remain the same: executive ownership, master data's key, proper project management, pick the right partner, decide the strategy up front, and I can go on and on and on. So a lot of what we have been preaching over the last 30 years or so, in essence, is the same. The technology's obviously changed. The technology has modernized, it's moving quicker. But in those years, we were moving from R2 to R3, and today we're moving from on-prem to the cloud. It's just different technology, but the way of working and how it impacts the people, and the people aspects are pretty much the same as they were many years ago. And I often sit down and wonder to myself, why haven't we adapted? Why have those issues not gone away? And I think in essence it really is because we are all human beings that are going through the same process, and there's a new batch of human beings doing the same thing today as we did 25 years ago, and have the same need for you to engage with them, talk to them, involve them, make them feel wanted. And that makes for a successful project into the future. But less about the 25-year-ago presentation. A little bit quickly about ACI. We're a multinational organization. We have a couple of streams or a couple of pillars in our business. We operate in the mining, water, agriculture, or agri-health, chemicals. We have a couple of group functions, and we have some property that we have. Strangely enough, ACI owned a significant amount of property in the past, simply because we had to own the property around our manufacturing units because we made dangerous products, and consequently, many people would get injured if they lived close to the operating unit. We make significantly safer product today, and as a consequence, the property portfolio has decreased quite a bit. So we 7,000 odd people around. In actual fact, when I put 7,000 up there, I should have put 7,348 because we knew exactly at the time of the presentation how many people we have, because we have success factors in our environment at the moment. In our different sectors, we have, our mining business is global. Plant and animal health is largely Europe, USA, African continent. Water treatment is in the African continent, and our chemicals business is more localized. So quite a diverse organization, as you can see through the through the mix, and operate in 23 or so countries around the world. I'm really proud to be working for an organization that at its heart, at its core, wants to do good for the world. And we have the possibility or the capability of doing that. Safer explosives, cleaner water, sustainable and green chemicals into the future, productive farming products and solutions. So at the core of ACI, we really want to do good for the world. And our ethos really is, our bigger values are really around being bold, innovative, going green, engaged, and responsible. So a little bit more about the business strategy. So the business strategy is pretty clear. We want to take a 100-year-old business that has been built up through many years of amalgamations, purchases, acquisitions, etc., and combine that organization into an enterprise strength one AECI world. And through that process, or essentially the strategic sort of platforms that we want to use is zero harm and sustainability, make sustainable, good products for the world. Nobody deserves to go to work and get injured at any point in time, so safety is of paramount importance in our organization. We want to be innovative, but essentially, if you're a 100-year-old business, you've been innovative for 100 years. Maybe you're a little bit more speedily innovative in the future, and then everything's going digital. We know that that's the process, and then underpinned by six strategic themes: financial stewardship, passionate, purpose-led people, growth, customer centricity, business excellence, and partnerships of the ecosystem. And I think the project I want to talk to you about today encompasses all of those themes. In actual fact, the implementation of a human capital management program at AECI essentially supported every single one of those strategic things. I am going to hone on one or two of the themes around passionate, purpose-led people and partnerships in the ecosystem. All right, so this is just one slide that we use for giving you an indication of our IT strategy. So we have a very clear IT strategy developed as a consequence of a very well understood business strategy. And our IT strategy is pretty clear. Take the IT stuff and pull it all together. Unlike what we used to do in the past, IT was an island on its own, and don't dare touch the manufacturing space. In actual fact, don't dare touch the localized space. But that is now all gone, and essentially what AECI is doing is we've moved away from this ERP implementation to a more holistic approach on taking the OT world, taking the IT world, taking the people element and the data element and pulling it all together. So our IT strategy is pretty clear. Standardize, simplify, centralize, and consolidate the environment. Nothing sexy about that, because it's not a sexy strategy. It's a strategy of just taking out the complexity. And I think sometimes we are our own worst enemies by building complexity. So it's not that the decisions of the past were wrong. The decisions of the past were right for the time that the decision was made. But can you imagine if we had business leaders looking after each one of these elements in our environment independently and operating in silos? Every one of those leaders would come up with the best solution for their particular silo, which, by the way, would not necessarily be wrong. But if you don't look at it holistically, it becomes a mess. It becomes an absolute nightmare to try and integrate the environment. So on our journey to standardize, simplify, and consolidate our environment, we have selected SAP as our strategic partner. Not because we're emotionally attached to them, just because we picked one. There are a few out there in the marketplace, just go and pick one. Okay, make sure they're going to survive. Make sure they're going to survive. Pick one. Okay. Make sure they're going to be around in 30 years' time and go through the process of implementing or making those solutions work for your business. And take the complexity out of your environment. Because I don't know of a single techie or a single developer or a single oak in the traditional IT environment that doesn't believe that they can build a better solution than SAP. Okay. So anyway, that's our IT strategy. It's pretty clear. Coupled with that, we are very clearly on a journey to the cloud. And before I carry on, I do just want to give credit to Tanya and Nadia. You know, sometimes in your organization, you need a few ACEs, like proper individuals. Well, Tanya is an ACE. She's done a superb job for us, and she's taken us right from inception all the way through to where we are today. So all credit to Tanya. She's the head of Human Capital, Shared Services and Information Systems, and unfortunately couldn't be here today. But I want to talk to you about our global journey from on-premise to the cloud. It's part of our strategy. We've made a few key principal decisions in AECI. We will buy and implement software or solutions. We will not build it. Decision made. I don't have a single developer in our IT department. We will buy stuff and implement it. We will journey to the cloud. You don't have to sell us the cloud concept. We buy it. We get it. We don't believe we can make better products locally than the ecosystem can deliver for us. Decision made. Move on. And I just want to quickly discuss how we selected SAP. And we go through the traditional process. You get a whole lot of business people in the room. You get an RFP that takes you a year to develop out there. You get 6 months of evaluation process, and you come up with 3 key players, and they're all like 1.7% different or 0.5% different. Then you go through a big round of board discussions, and you pick one of them. That's like the highest number. The challenge I've got with that is, and we've gone through it down to the lowest level of detail, saying the payroll number of the employee doesn't appear on this page, on this particular report, so 1% off. No. Guys, we're 8 years, AECI is 8 years into this journey. We haven't implemented, and I don't know what the exact percentage is, 50% of the capability of SAP. That 0.5% difference is nothing in the bigger scheme of things. Go through the process of higher level macro evaluation. Don't waste your time. In my personal opinion, again, it's an opinion I have. Make the decision, select the product, select your implementation partner, and go. It's going to be painful. It's going to take time. Struggle through the difficult periods, but get that thing done at the end of the day. And the level of detail you go into, unnecessarily so, in my opinion, just wastes a huge amount of time. So a little bit of context. AECI, from a payroll perspective, had very many, as Tanya mentioned in the video, very many different payrolls. And again, every one of these decisions in our world was made by an HR specialist and an IT guy and the best business heads at the time, and was not wrong. But over the years, that's the complicated, quite messy world we inherited. And at some point in time, you need to make a decision, if you are going to become one AECI, that you've got to change those parameters. So we went into the market, we selected SAP, we started a product called AECI Connect. And what were our objectives out there? We wanted centralized employee data, one version of the truth. We wanted to put a solution in where you capture once, capture accurately, let it go into the data repository, and let the system take over the process. As opposed to in the past, an individual in HR captured it on a spreadsheet, sent it to a senior manager who then did the evaluation, did the check, sent it to their particular manager in a PowerPoint presentation, who then signed it off and sent it to HR to capture. You know where I'm going with that. Let the employee capture their own data. Now, you can't allow that to happen. Of course you can. Just change your cop, man. Okay. So, we wanted consolidated group reporting, visibility of our people cost. In many of our organizations, probably most of our organizations, the people cost spend is probably your highest spend item in your organization. And you didn't have a capable human capital management offering that was able to measure that particular level of spend. Of course, you measure how many pens you buy and how many staplers the Oaks take, and, guys, here's the money ticket, eh? All right, so our objective was to get to a single human capital management solution that had the capability in the future, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a minute, of connecting to our finance system, reporting effectively, and by the way, if you go with a reasonable product like SAP, it's got that wide range of products there. So SAP Analytics Cloud, no-brainer. Are there better products that they 1.25% better than SAP Analytics Cloud? Of course. We didn't even contemplate it. No debate. There's the answer. We got our SAP-based system, so that's it. So now we can sit amongst the decision makers in our organization who now come and say, we believe product X is better than Analytics Cloud. You're right, but you're 100% wrong. Go away. That's it. There we go. Okay. All right. So don't underestimate scale when you're going to the globe. There's a world out there outside of Sandton, South Africa. And some of these countries are difficult to engage in and to work in and to implement in. I'll tell you, for example, the South American countries are difficult. It's a difficult process to implement any kind of system in that environment. You've got to understand the culture, you've got to understand the local dynamics, and deal with that. So we ended up implementing in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Bahasa, Indonesian. We haven't quite done Germany, but it's on the cards. Germany's coming at some point in time. Von Click, huh? There we go. Okay, so So some of the design decisions was really around going for a central employee central environment. So we have one record of every single employee in AECI, and that was our starting point. Get that right. Make sure that you've got the base data. And master data is a big problem. In every single session I've been to, master data comes up all the time. I think that my assessment of it is not because you've got the conversion between the old payroll master data to the new payroll master data wrong. I think the richness of the data required in SAP is significantly richer or more than any other system you've had in the past. And it's the new additional data and the new additional information that you may not have even thought about in the past. So get that process right. Think about it up front, get it right, and put it into the system, because the system needs it to run efficiently and effectively. So that's the issue around master data. We went with the Employee Central implementation, really went well in our environment with 3 payrolls. Now, one of the challenges with SAP, and if you're particularly an African organization with presence in some of the regions that SAP does not deliver a payroll in. So, for example, SAP does not deliver payrolls in many of the African organizations. So that was an issue. That is an issue. We are picking up directly with the OEM. On our strategy to tend towards one, that's an OEM issue. Deal directly with them to resolve it for you, and in the interim, use something else. So you'll see in one of my slides going forward that we did engage PaySpace, and PaySpace now runs some of our payrolls in some of the African continents. But I'm pretty sure at some point in time we'll replace that with the SAP alternative when they finally wake up and do it for us at some point in time. Okay. Yeah, so for the more, and again, you know, I'm going to get into some technical space here, and don't ask me a question about all of these stuff, because I may not be able to answer you. But what is important when you engage in this process? Get your job architecture right up front, without a doubt. You get that wrong, you will spend very many months digging into other issues and reverting back to getting the job architecture correct and accurate up front. But what that implies is that you have a strong business strategy. The strong business strategy is underpinned by an organizational design that enables the organization to be able to deliver the strategy. Now, if you have a strong business strategy with an incorrectly designed organization, first of all, you're not going to deliver the strategy, and you're really going to have a problem in success factors. Because instead of identifying the individual as Supreme Wing Commander, in actual fact, the chappie may only be the cabin attendant that looks after the food. But you've given him him or her the title that was right for the time, because they deal with customers and for all sorts of other egotistical reasons. So get the job architecture right up front, spend some time on it, make sure it fits your organizational design that has the ability to deliver on the business strategy. So just a little bit of history. I think I mentioned to you, we're on an 8-year journey. This starts in 2018, but a lot of pre-work went into this process before 2018. The process really started in 2016. It says, we have a problem, Houston. Let's fix this thing. 2 years of management time and interaction and discussions and blah, blah, blah. And in 2018, we finally got to a point of selecting a solution that happened to be SuccessFactors. So 2018, we did the global human capital management platform design, and we built a common model for our entire organization. We then went live with South Africa, and at the time, the payroll was not available in the cloud, so we went with on-premise payroll. Yeah, COVID had a bit of an impact on us. It slowed us down a little bit, but we were able to work remotely, and that worked quite nicely for us during COVID. So we went live with learning management, 2021, performance management and onboarding. 2022, we went live in Brazil after a challenging period. We went on onboarding, and this year we are finalizing effectively an 8-year project with implementing our solutions in North America and North and South America. Hell of a journey. 8 years. It's a lifetime. That 0.01% of difference between the two organizations counts for nothing. 8 years' time, it's a very different product. They're all very different products. So be careful where you spend your time. We could have spent less time prior to 2018 making a decision. There are a couple of products out there. Pick one and go. You get my view on that. But having said that, today, in our current world, what has it given us? It's given us a massive amount of information. Today, I can walk into the organization, and if anybody wants to know exactly who's employed in our organization, who's on leave, where they are, how much they get paid, what our payroll cost, druk die knoppie. That's it. And the answer's there. Eh? You may not know how to druk the knoppie yet, but that's your problem. The system is available. The answers are there. Go and fetch them. So we have a massive amount of, and again, back to the job architecture, the hierarchies, it filters then into very many other parts of your business. Simple things like structuring KPIs, top down. It's easy, much easier to do. Cascading what the executive of the organization need to do right through to every employee in the organization becomes a lot simpler. You may not like it now, because it measures you actually on what you really delivered at the end of the day. But that's the reality of a proper system that's in place. I'm going to run out a little bit of time, but we've got a fully fledged Employee Central. Again, we've simply removed all the other systems and the other capabilities of the past. Deleted them, gone, bah, chuck them away. You have to use the system now. And that's the way we've managed this. Okay, so we now have, again, we've gone wall to wall, except for recruitment. I must add that we have not yet implemented recruitment, but it's coming. So at this stage of the game, we take every single employee through an onboarding process. We manage the individual throughout the entire life cycle at ACI, and we offboard them at the end of the day, no matter where you are in the world. So performance management, I spoke briefly about that. It's now significantly easier to implement a proper performance management system in ACI. It's a top-down cascade of our organization's objectives. We have a clear strategy. We have clear plans in place. We convert it to KPIs, and the KPIs cascade down to the level of management that require and are managed through KPIs. Learning management system, again, beautiful learning management system. We are very, as I mentioned to you earlier, very focused on safety, very focused on doing your job properly, working well in our organization. And we've linked our LMS system to SAP Enable now. So we've got all our learning collateral in SAP Enable now. The learning management system says, you now have gone on these courses, and by the way, you failed 4 times. So you're on the border here. Okay, so we've got a really nice learning management system in place. SAP Analytics Cloud has been a real revelation for us. The cloud capability, or the SAP Analytics Cloud, it's modular, so you can implement the HR element to it, and then you can customize it to a certain degree. But the wealth of power in SAP Analytics Cloud is phenomenal. Enable the user to use the product, not to change the data, use the product, and source the data from the transactional level. That's it. That's how this thing works. So if the information is wrong, go and fix the source. Don't fix it through the integration layer. So we've had armies of individuals in our ACI organization that was taking the messy data, changing it to reflect the more accurate data, because getting to the messy data and fixing it was more difficult. But it's been more difficult for 20 years. Okay? Stop the boat. Force the process. Capture once. Stick it in the database and suck it out through SAP Analytics Cloud, and don't touch it. Don't touch the data. So that's worked like a charm for us, and it really does. It forces you to go back to where the real issue with the process is, and you fix it at source, and then it filters through the rest of the organization. Our objective in the future is to put a digital dashboard. When Wian and his team wake up, they will get the digital dashboard out there, and we'll have a proper digital dashboard in our world. He did say punt me a little bit, so you get in it, eh? Okay, so business readiness. This is a people issue, yeah? You are changing the way, so for the HR practitioners out there in the audience, when last has somebody phoned you and said, hell, thank you, man, I got paid on the 25th. The number is right. I'm really, really impressed with your effort and your ethos. And so, great job. Good work, Janet. Nah, get it wrong by 10 cents. Get it wrong by 10 cents. You'd have 1,000 phone calls 3 seconds after it popped in the bank account telling you that you're an idiot because you got it wrong. So it's important to take the management through this process because it does impact every single one of. This is not a little group of finance people or some supply chain individuals. You are impacting every single person that comes to work for you every single day. So we conducted a really thorough marketing strategy. We put it out there. There were posters all over the show. There were personal one-to-one engagements with the individuals. We took the executive through the process, eyeballing them straight as much as we can. We traveled around the world to look those people in the eyes and say, this thing's coming. And when it comes, you're going to like it. All right, so, anyway, so this is just a little picture of how happy the guys are out there. And then again, the LMS system is now really designed to upskill our entire organization. Now, we're not fully fledged running at 100% and it's not working all, perfectly as it should be, but this thing's going to be with us for very many years. And the objective now is to take take ACI through the process of upskilling the workforce using a single system now. And using a single system throughout our entire organization. They now don't have to go on 12 other courses because they need to go to product X and product Y and product Z and know how everything is, have 5 passwords for different systems. Single system, single sign-on, do your job. Okay, so the methodology we used, I'm running out a little bit of time. Nothing sexy about this methodology. Standard principles. Just the point I want to make with this slide is you've got to have a structured methodology behind what you're doing. You can't afford to miss things. If you miss them, you'll pay the price 20 times over and go back and have to redo it again. So make sure you've got a structured methodology in place that takes you all the way through to mobilization and initiation, all the way through to closeout, and have a strong project manager that's able to tick those boxes. The 3,000 line item methodology. Somebody's got to do it. Every single day. Again, just a little bit about our methodology, from high-level planning all the way through to sort of the operationalization of our environment. I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, but make sure you've got it. This is not some HR manager sitting in their office telling people what to do every day and messing around. This is a highly structured, dare I say, expensive project that has massive business value if you get it right. No, not if you, when you get it right. And it may only be 8 years later. So persevere, stick through it, and carry on. We had proper governance in place, high-level IT steering committees. So this project would have been a failure had the CEO and his immediate team not been intensely involved in the process. And you're not going to going to him or her and asking for more money. You're going to do it, I can promise you that. Okay, but do it. Make sure they buy in, make sure they tick the box, and move on from there. What's interesting to note, I'm going to move on here quickly. I'm running out of a bit of time. Again, wage types for the more detailed people in the organization, critical importance. Make sure you get your wage types right up front. Make sure you understand what they are in areas that you have not been working on in the past. So detailed sign-off, again, a little bit about project management. And then just a little high-level picture of what this thing looks like. Remember I said our IT strategy and our business strategy by default is to tend towards one. Here's the one. We've got AECI Employee Central. I told you about PaySpace. It's only because we have a gap in the SuccessFactors payroll environment. We've got onboarding, PMGM, LMS. We had Employee Central only for payroll, only for the countries that were already available. South Africa was not available at the time of us going live. And I think that's one of the important aspects that you need to understand when you have a true strategic relationship with a partner in the ecosystem. It was coming. We weren't ready. So if we made the decision up front that SAP, because SAP did not have a South African payroll in the cloud, that we would not gotten past phase 1. They said they're working on it. It's going to come. We weren't ready 8 years ago. When we were ready, they were ready, and we moved. Vian. Okay. So, this is an old slide, but I just wanted to make the point that we've now, this SAP ECC on-premise payroll has now migrated. We migrated in March, April this year into Employee Central Payroll. Difficult? Well, not really a difficult process. We'd done the rest of the international countries before, so it's just a methodical process. It's a hard slog, tick the box process. It's now 100% in the cloud. So today, AECI does not have, must be careful, anything in our traditional IT environment regarding human capital management anymore. And our objective here in the future is to make sure that we integrate to things like our finance system. And that's the beauty about this thing. I can now start taking the employee data, moving and using employee data in our manufacturing environment. We can use the employee data now in our traditional IT environment and link it to Active Directory, etc., etc. So, what outcomes were we looking for? We were looking for a good understanding of our businesses, and sometimes you think the business is running well in areas that they tell you it's running well, until you take their system and put it into SuccessFactors, and then you realize, oops, the understanding may have been a little bit different. Their fuel claim system was slightly tweaked 30 years ago that nobody even knew took place. And when you bring it into a central standardized process, you pick up those anomalies very quickly, and then you need to deal with it on the fly. So today, what does our world look like? We have an integrated Employee Central Performance Management, Learning Management, Onboarding, Payroll, and Human Capital Analytics Cloud solution in place. One click, druk die knoppie, and we know what's going on in our world. Is there much more to do? Obviously, there's a lot more to do. So we new recruits, new hires come in and say, well, what am I going to earn when I work for you? It was traditionally done on an Excel spreadsheet, incorrectly so many times. Now we have a provisional payslip. Straight away we say, this is it, here's your payslip, that's the grade you want to move in, that's your job category, that's who you'd report to, etc., etc. Do you want the job, yes or no? So really nice. Double capturing gone, eh? If there is double capturing, there's a little bit of double capturing still in our environment, but we're methodically taking it out step by step, going back to the source and make sure we capture once. Again, in the essence of time, I'm going to rush you. I'm pretty sure you're going to get a copy of all of these things. So we were quite easily able to put in things like declaration of conflict and interest straight into the system. You pop it into the system, goes to 7,000 people in the organization, and you say, read it and sign it. And by the way, a week later, you have a look and say, well, 30 of you haven't signed it. Well, sign it or we're going to make another plan with you. Okay, so very, very easy to do and quite good. What I want to show you here is that in 2019, we were running 41 payrolls, and today we run 331 payrolls in a single shared services environment. So we've taken that role and that function that used to be traditionally run outside in the big bad world out there. We've centralized it into a shared services environment, and those individuals run 331 payrolls every single month. Okay, so some final thoughts. I think we're just about there or thereabout. Consider all your data requirements across the models. I mentioned that before. SAP requires rich data, lots of it. Get it right. It's worth lots of cash down the track. The business time required to get involved in this, big time. 3 times more than you think it is. IT versus business accountability. I've been going to the Gartner Group conferences for 40 years, and IT and business alignment has always been up there in that in the quadrant of issues for IT. It's still an issue. Get it right. If and when you get it right, major difference for your environment. Ensure that your design is future-proof and scalable, and at the end of the day, make sure the future-proof and scalable design is on top of an ecosystem and a partner program that's going to be around for a long period of time. If you get that right, chapa. Okay.
Thank you very much, guys. So unfortunately, we have been chased out. I thought this was going to happen. Tony and I will be outside, so if you want to have some conversations with us. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for being a fun audience. We appreciate that. So we'll be outside. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.